y'all, it's Barb going to my craft studio. I've got a vlog today. I'm going to talk about my summer GOC, the first week of it. Be right back. The summer GOC that I'm hosting in Barb's Craft Studio, my Facebook group, and in the Get Organized with Totally Tiffany Facebook group is on the 12-week GOC that Tiffany did with Creative Scrapbooker magazine. So you can, I'll try to remember to share that information in the little blog too. So the first week is called Plan to Get Organized. I'll kind of read what it says here about it. It says having a good system for getting organized is a necessity. The best system for craft supply organization is the 4-section system, which is alphabets and numbers, also includes punctuation, themes and sentiments, holidays and seasons, and the rainbow. You need to set time aside in your schedule to actually organize. You need to watch the 4-section system, and you can print out the written article on that if you want. You need to create a themes and sentiment list, write down your goals, and commit to rewarding yourself. Choose 12 rewards, number them 1 through 12. Gather your supplies together, purchase organization products if needed. And that's just kind of an overview of it. Basically, the homework this week was to create your GOC notebook. It can be either physical or digital. In the past, she's done like a big benefit board, which I have mine up. I don't know if I can twist it over there. There you go. You can see it on the door there. I just have, there's 12 squares. I can only see 9 in the camera. I don't know if it shows more than that, but there's 9 squares, 1 for each week. And I just do little pockets and put a reward in those. Sometimes I'll do a little card and I'll write what my goal is, because I've done the challenge so many times. Sometimes my goals for the week are way different than Tiffany's because I don't have all those things to do. And then my big benefit is listed underneath it. It says the Get Organized Challenge Big Benefit, and mine says crafting is easier. So I leave that part up on the letterboard all the time because it reminds me of why I want to stay organized. So and she's also in the past done a What Did You Do Today notebook, where instead of listing your goals for the week, for the day or whatever, you write down what you accomplished that day. So it's kind of a different take, and it's supposed to be better for your brain, I guess, is the way Tiffany explains it. I just reserve a section in my planner for that. I kind of, in my top, I put birthdays and appointments. I think I'm going to switch it up. I was tracking what we watched on TV, but I think the middle's going to be things that I want to get done, and then the bottom one's going to be what I did get accomplished, which some of those things may not be on my list of what I had to do, but I think that's how I'm going to switch mine up. It says make sure you include your why in the notebook and also post it someplace like I've done. I mean, you could write it on a piece of paper and just put it someplace where you'll see it, just to remind you what you're hoping to do. I think my very first challenge, my goal was to be able to get organized and craft without frustration. And now that I'm kind of organized, I've just put it up there to crafting is easier, which kind of just drills it down a little bit further. Since I am organized, keeping it organized will keep it simpler, and it also kind of keeps this room my happy place. Read about the 4-section system or watch the video. I do have a playlist for the challenge that includes all 12 weeks, plus it includes the I've been trying to add in any videos that help and insert them in the right place. So I've got the 4-section video into the playlist too. Determine what type of crafter you are. Tiffany kind of has it broke down into 4. She's got an article on her website about that. And it's about where you craft, and the goal is, if you think about that, you can choose the organization that suits your style the best. Like, I've always thought that I am the first one says meet Kathy Craft Room and her dog Crop. Since I do most of my crafting in this room, I consider myself a Kathy Craft Room. It says Kathy loves to scrapbook, but only at home. I just think of that as Kathy loves to craft. It doesn't have to be scrapbooking. Her crafting space is defined, and her supplies always stay put, except of course when she's using them. Her dog Crop is a regular fixture in her crafter. I don't have a dog. I do have a cat. She doesn't spend much time in here though. She used to a bit more when hubby worked. She'd come in sometimes and spend some time with me, but now that he's home, she usually spends her day in there. She can kind of lay on the little couch while he's in there, and she's more comfortable. Sophia Crop a lot is another one. Sophia has a dedicated space for crafting at home, but she also enjoys going out and attending crops classes, retreats, or other events. It's important for her to have her supplies not only accessible at home, but also easy to travel with. So, like, I love this little supply organizer that all my Copics are in. It's great. It's a great stationary thing for home, but it probably wouldn't be the best for somebody who travels with their supplies. Some people that travel might use kind of a blend of the stationary and the to-go, depending on maybe what they craft with at home. Certain items are only at home and other items travel, so it kind of just depends. And the next one is Karen Craftabout. Karen has some storage space at home, but she doesn't have a dedicated room. So, and she tends to move around. Sometimes she's at her dining room, sometimes she's in the TV room. She likes to go to crafting events as well. So her supplies need to get put away each time she uses them. So part of her home crafting time is spent pulling things out and putting things away, which I was that before when my children were still at home. I was definitely a Karen then. But even before the kids moved out, we switched that. When I got sick, that's when we had to change it, because I'm like, I don't have the energy to get things out and have to put them away. By the time I got part of my things out, I was exhausted. I'm like, I can't actually craft because I can't do that. I can't have to pull everything out and put things away. Here, it's not so bad now. Here, I do try to put things away every day, but they're not in storage, so it's a lot different than having to pull out all your scrapbooking stuff, pull out all your paper stuff, because before everything was in a closet and they were in different closets. That's one thing I would have changed if I could have. If I would have really thought about it, I would have tried to have cleared out one closet or section of a closet and say, all of my stuff is going in one place instead of spread throughout the house. The next one is Mary, Mobile Maker. Mary never crafts at home. She only crafts at events or out of her home. It could be, at somebody else's house or whatever. So determine which type of crafter you are so that you can determine how you need to store your stuff. Do you need it stored where you're always at home so it can kind of be on display in your room? Is it something that, I need to travel with these supplies, I need something I can pack away and get out when I need to craft because I don't have a room? So give that some thought and think about it so that you can buy the right type of storage, or or maybe adapt to the right type of storage. Create your themes and sentiment list. Tiffany also has an article about that. take some before pictures of your room. That one I think is important because it shows you that you have made progress. I know my room the first time was disaster area. I should see if there's a way for me to show you my original crafting space. I'd have to download those onto my iPad and do it. But that might be an interesting video, my kind of how I looked before Tiffany and how I look now. How I looked maybe after in that space. It would probably wouldn't be this room, but maybe I could share that in a future video, the before and afters of this room. But gather your supplies all together in one room. Now, if this is your first challenge, the first week, that's the only sorting you do. You don't really sort your stuff. You just gather it all together. If you finish everything else on the list and you have some time, see, I probably saved that one almost to the end. You might think about sorting them down by each topic of the challenge. Like this first week is just planning to get organized. Week 2 is about paper. So maybe have a place for your, okay, I'm going to put my paper here, my embellishments here, my dies here, my stamps, my embossing folders, punches, punch boards, templates, and stencils are in 1 week, those 4 items. And then we've got inks, pens, and markers in 1 week. And then the next week is glitter, glitter glue, paints, embossing powder. If you have any other type of coloring agents, just choose one of those weeks and put them in, maybe based upon how much you have of other things. Photos and mementos is week 10. Week 11 is tools, and week 12 is adhesives. If you're continuing on your organization journey, don't undo what you've already sorted. Just continue adding to that area that is organized. So say you have, like, we'll just say you're using cube storage for your paper and you have several cubes already organized. Don't undo those. Just leave them and build on them. There's no point in redoing everything that you've already done if it's already sorted and organized. Set your purge goals. Create a purge box. If you work in 12 by 12, you want something that fits 12 by 12 supplies. Decide where your purge will go. That's one thing. In both groups, I've created a file that gives some suggestions of where purge could be donated. Selling, most people know where to sell stuff, so I don't get into that, and for 2 reasons. Most people know it, and I don't want any responsibility if something goes wrong. And while that shouldn't be an issue, it tends to be. So I just give some suggestions of places that maybe you could donate purge. I prefer donating it because for me, it's not worth the hassle of selling. I only have so much energy. I don't want to waste some of it on having to list stuff, pack stuff up for shipping it, except I don't have the energy for that, which is one reason why I'm a donate girl. Here's another one. If you have an item in your crafting thing that does not work, do not sell it. Do not donate it. Recycle or trash it, whichever the case may be. Do not pass your headache on to somebody else. You wouldn't like it if you went and purchased something or were given something to discover it didn't work, and the person obviously knew that. So don't do it to somebody else. I've never understood that, but people do it. Evaluate the purge patrol. There is a video on purging, and that's also in my playlist. Evaluate your space and tools. Remember, you want things visible and accessible if that's possible. Obviously, if you're the type that just has storage, that's not going to be so much, but maybe even then you still want to try to get things put away in a manner that makes them easier to find. So it still comes into play a little bit. What do you need, and how can you take what you currently have and rearrange it to make your space that you have either for storage or for crafting more efficient? I found a nice article by a different, it wasn't from Tiffany, because Tiffany usually doesn't get a whole lot into setup and layout of the room. I found one that was kind of nice, and I know I've shared it in my Barb's Craft Studio room. I will try to make sure I share that one again in there. Create an organized only space. This one, if it's your first challenge, don't think that you have to have the whole room cleared out. You don't. Like if all your paper's in one area, you really don't have to gather it. You can just leave it. But what you might want to do, if you know where you're going to store your paper, is clean out at least one shelf or cube or however you're storing your paper, so that there's a place to put the organized stuff. And then when you get that one full, and you empty another one, and you continue adding to that organized only space. The goal is just to, once things are organized, don't put anything else in that spot that isn't organized. So if you've got a certain amount of paper in order, you don't want to shove paper that's not in order in that space. People tend to overthink that one. Go public. This could be sharing it on social media, or what can be very helpful is sharing it with somebody you know, be that a spouse or a friend or whatever, somebody that might say to you, oh, you were organizing your craft stuff, how's that going? Because it's nice if you've got to answer that question, if you can give an answer, so you might be more likely to stick with it and get it organized, so that if that person routinely asks you, maybe if it's a friend or relative, if you tell them about it, say, hey, can you just check in with me every now and then and ask me how that's going, so that I know I'm going to have to be responsible for responding to it. It can't hurt. There's not a contest during this challenge. Usually Tiffany has giveaways during the challenge, but since this one's an unofficial challenge, there is no giveaway. And then when you've finished all those steps, celebrate with your first reward. Take your reward. And rewards don't have to necessarily cost money. It could be something that you enjoy doing, or maybe even just cost a little bit. Like, I like sweet tea from McDonald's, so my reward could be, hey, when I finish this, I'm going to have a sweet tea, or an ice cream cone, or I like to read, so maybe I'm going to take some time to read a book. Or it could even be, hey, I'm going to do a little crafting. Especially if you haven't been crafting much because your supplies are in disarray, that might make a good reward. But commit yourself to making those rewards and taking them. I can say, I think my first challenge, I don't think I did rewards, and it did make a difference the next time. After that, the first couple I did after that first one, because the first one, like I said, I didn't do rewards, but after that, the first few where I actually took rewards, I, like this week when I finished, I would get myself something for my paper organization for the next week. So, like, some of Tiffany's paper, I think at that time I was using the paper junkie boxes, but whatever you decide you're going to store your paper in, you can say, hey, I'm going to pick up a little bit of those, so that next week when I sort paper, when I get some sorted, I have some place to put it. And each week my goal was kind of like that. Whatever the next week was, I bought some organization for that week, for the next week, so that when I sorted during that next week, I had some place to put the stuff. But that's kind of week 1 of the GOC. I will try to share in the comments links to the Get Organized Challenge group, my Facebook group, I usually always add in there, and the Creative Scrapbook or 12-week GOC page. I will try to remember to add those links in there, and I'll also try to add a playlist. Now, since I do that in a different spot than where I edit my video, upload my video, it might take a while. It might not be in there when this video first goes up, but I will try to get them added in a reasonable amount of time. This was a long video. First week, I mean, the list for the first week always seems so long, but when you think about the fact that you're not really sorting other than gathering, you gather but you don't really sort, it's not quite as bad. I always tell people it's about preparing the space that you're going to have your craft supplies in, whether that's a closet or a room or part of a room, whatever, and preparing yourself for the task. So it's more about preparation than it is about actual work. By comparison, I think the print's a little larger. This will be weeks 2 homework, and it's not near as bad, especially if you've been through it before. But that's kind of the goal. Tiffany's system has made a world of difference for me. With my health problems, it's even more important that I'm organized, but even without health issues, it's just so much easier to craft when your stuff is organized in a logical way. And we crafters tend to say, oh, I'm going to put all my buttons over here and all of my, bling over here and all my whatever over here. And it's really not the most efficient way to store things. Tiffany likens it to the silverware drawer. Can you imagine if we did in our kitchen what we did in our craft rooms? Said, oh, I'm going to take my forks and put them in these pretty jars here. I'm going to put my spoons over here in this drawer. I'm going to put the knives over in this area over here. Can you imagine how hard it would be setting the table to eat? So, her mantra is keep together what you use together. She's got a few of them. That's one of the big ones. But anyways, I am going to wrap this up because I've went really long, but first week is always a tough one. I encourage you, if you need organization in your room, to participate in a Get Organized challenge, whether it's this one that's unofficial or you wait until Tiffany does her next official one. The system just makes a world of difference. And it will take you more than one challenge to finish, unless you really don't have much. It's going to take you more than one challenge to finish. I liken it to normally a lot of times they're 8-week challenges. This one's a 12 weeks. But did your craft supplies get into the condition they're in 12 weeks? I'm gonna bet not. Unless you're just beginning crafting. And if you are, it's a great time to start, because you won't get to the point that many of us got to. Many of us have been crafting for years and never really organized our stuff. Well, you can't expect all that to get organized in 12 weeks. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed my little talk about the GOC. And I hope to see some of you joining in and participating. It really is. It's a lot of work, but it's really, really worth the effort. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you next time.